Let's get back to education. I want to catch up with the New South Wales Education Minister, Sarah Mitchell. She joins us live from the Sydney CBD right now. Thanks for joining us again, Sarah. First up, I want to ask you about the rationale for this new push where you're going to make sure that maths is compulsory for all public school students right the way through their education.
Yeah, we've announced today that we intend to do some work in making maths compulsory all the way through to Year 12. At the moment, it's only compulsory up until Year 10. And we want to make sure that all students are studying some form of maths the entire way through their school career. This comes on the back of an earlier announcement this week in terms of the review we're doing into the New South Wales curriculum. We want to see a focus on back to basics and literacy and numeracy, and this will be part of those discussions.
Yeah, I'll come back to that review in a moment, but just staying on the maths for a moment, where's the impetus for this come from? Has it been universities complaining about lack of maths proficiency? Has it been employers? Has it been any of the trade training? Where's the push come from?
Yeah, look, I think it's from a combination of feedback that we've received. You know, I've certainly had people in business talk to me about, you know, people are finishing school and young people are working for them, but they have difficulty counting out the change if they're working on a cash register at a shop. Speaking to some electricians earlier this week who said, not sure that we thought we'd use maths, but we do every day in our business in terms of equations. So I think it's just in line with community sentiment. We know maths is important. We know that so many careers of the future are going to rely on it, but just in terms of day-to-day maths, and it's a necessity in life, and we want to include more of it in terms of what's available in our schooling.
Do we think it's become even more of a necessity or even increasingly overlooked, I suppose, because we all have calculators in our hand every day these days, and so we don't train our brains to actually use the numbers the way we should?
That's right, and I think that sometimes we do rely a little bit too heavily on the technology that we have at our fingertips. But, you know, you need to know what to tell the calculator to do. You need to know the basic differences between adding something up and subtracting an addition, and what that request, I guess, you're asking the machine to carry out for you is. We don't want to see that lost, and we think that there's a real opportunity to do more in this space. It's something I'm certainly very keen to see, as is our Premier, and that's why we've made the announcement that we have.
Yeah, Sarah Mitchell, you mentioned the curriculum review. We've discussed that on this program earlier this week with other experts. A lot of people are going to welcome this. It's all a matter of how far you go, though. Another review is just another review until you implement it. But the aim here is to declutter the curriculum. You know, you've got to get rid of a lot of stuff that's extraneous and just complicating, and helping students and teachers focus much more on the basic education tasks.
That's exactly what we want to do. We haven't actually done a review of this nature or this size for over 30 years in New South Wales. And you've hit the nail right on the head, Chris. It's about getting back to basics, giving teachers more time in their classrooms to make sure students understand the concepts, particularly before they move on to the next one. I think sometimes the way our current syllabuses are, you know, children have to move on whether they're ready or not, and this will give them a bit more time to make sure that they're across the issues that they need to. I think a decluttering is well overdue. And I'm also really excited about the aspects of it that talk about in the senior years, a better integration between our academic and our vocational education subjects, giving more opportunities for trade and training, and helping students know that they've got a lot of options when they finish school. Uni's one, but there's some great opportunities in trades and traineeships, and we want to have a better balance when it comes to those sort of issues.
There's been an incredible and relentless effort over the years to put more and more into the school syllabus. Often it comes as part of a politically correct push to promote climate change, sometimes maybe Indigenous culture, maybe other aspects of our culture and heritage. And while all these things obviously have a role, do you think that there's just been too much put in from a political perspective into perhaps our history or social studies agenda, even our maths and English, and you need to sort of get rid of those agendas out of the education system?
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that we'll be looking at. You know, Professor Masters, who has conducted this review for us, and it is only an interim report, so what we can do now is go out and consult more specifically with people about the suggestions that he has made. But he talks about decluttering, you know, potentially up to 15 to 20% in some of the syllabuses, and also looking at what has been added over the last 5 years. I think there's been an incremental creep of different things that come in and out that maybe we need to just have a better look at what's being taught. And as I said, that focus on core content, the subject knowledge, giving teachers time to really delve into the important aspects of each subject rather than trying to cover a lot and really not having time to do it properly.
Well, the key interest group you always run up against in this area is the Australian teachers, the Australian Education Union. But surely if this is done right, teachers ought to embrace this. It ought to make their task more easier, more focused, I suppose, and they might embrace that.
Yeah, look, and as part of this review, we are consulting Professor Masters on behalf of the government with all the various stakeholders, including our teachers and their unions, because I think there is agreement. I hear it certainly from teachers when I visit schools and classrooms. There is an overcrowding of the curriculum, and now it's about working together to say where are the areas that we can clean this up a little bit less red tape for teachers, give you the time to get back to what you do best, which is focusing on the education of the children that are in front of you in your classroom.
Sarah Mitchell, I've got to get you while you're here on a story we covered yesterday, and this is the Kelly's Place Childcare Centre in Crow's Nest in Sydney, on the lower North Shore of Sydney, where preschoolers aged 3, 4 and 5 have been co-opted to get signatures for a petition to take to your parliament to try and get the Aboriginal flag flying on the Harbour Bridge 365 days a year. This is a disgraceful co-opting of preschool children, isn't it? And our childcare centres should not be engaged in this sort of political activity.
Yeah, look, I was asked my view on this, and, you know, I don't think that children should be politicised, particularly of that age group, regardless of the issue. You know, they should be focused on play-based learning while they're at school, not being sort of dragged into Parliament by members of the opposition for this sort of political stunt. I just don't think it's appropriate at all.
Do you have power to stop it?
Well, look, we certainly talk to services about the work that they do. I mean, ultimately they can make decisions and parents can make decisions and talk to these childcare centres about the work that they're doing. But again, I think there's some responsibility from the members of Parliament in our chamber and our place who encourage this as well. You know, certainly members of the opposition were involved in it. And as I said, I just don't think that's what children of that age group, they can't comprehend these sort of issues. And as I said, I was pretty disappointed to see that it had happened.
Thanks for joining us, Sarah.